You are live with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here, broadcasting from the lovely home studio. I've got fellow app nerds John Beeler and Graham Williams. We have a pretty cool show for you today. Later on in the program, we'll be talking with the folks behind the Canada COVID-19 app. This is a must-have app for any Canadian, and we'll tell you why. We'll also be talking about a new streaming service. We're all looking to while the hour's away. You might be sick of Netflix and Amazon. Well, Quibi has arrived. Am I saying that right? Quibi?
Yeah.
I think so. Before we get to any of that, let's have a look at some of the app news happening this week. I think when you think of video conferencing, the big player right now has to be Zoom. But Skype, who used to be the big guy, they're telling you they're here. You should look at using them because they're more secure. And you don't need the Skype app or even an account to make a call.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting, hey, don't forget about us. We're still here. And they do have some great features. And a lot of the things that I think are wrong with Zoom from a security standpoint, I think Skype's kind of nailed down. And I think especially companies are well versed in dealing with Microsoft and Skype products. So I think it might be a little bit easier path for them. It might not be as feature rich as Zoom has been, or as fun maybe, but it's a nice reminder that they're there. And I do like the fact that you don't need an app to do this, because this is something we do all the time when we bring guests on the show. Do you have your app installed properly? Blah, blah, blah. And this just makes it a lot easier for us to do that.
I'm not going to lie to you. Skype is still a dog's breakfast when it comes to interface. I literally can't. I have a call every week that I have to do that uses Skype. And every time I boot it up, I look at it and I'm like, why do you hate me? There's like conversations and there's a contact list and I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking for people. Just apparently they're doing a full app rewrite. And if that is the case, I hope they do a full UI, just toss it out the window and start again. That's what they need to do.
What drives me crazy with some of these user interfaces now on a lot of these apps and web-based programs, and Skype is super guilty of this, they turn everything into icons. Remember in the old days where you could actually see the little written thing, what it was, that icon? So it was kind of easier to figure out what the heck it is and where you want to go. I just find it really difficult, and Skype's a bad one for this, trying to find things like the settings and, to find out where my video is and the audio. It just drives me crazy. And I have to still use Skype because whenever I do any radio hits or live TV interviews, they always typically use Skype, and it drives me mental because I'm constantly trying to actually boot it up, number one, on my desktop, and God help me, it boots up maybe 1 out of 3 times properly, and it just, the other 2 times will not recognize my password to save my life.
Can I tell you, my woe there is, so my Skype user ID is connected with my Gmail address, and it uses the same password as my Microsoft account. If I try to log in using my Gmail address, which I know is connected to the account, it tells me it's the wrong password. And then you sit there for about 5 minutes and you go to password reset, and then you're like, I got to punch in that username that I made back when I was 20. What is going on, guys? You're killing me.
Yeah.
And I think, Graham, you mentioned too that Skype has not just one application. They have multiple applications depending on what you're using it for, which again is just confusing
Skype
to no end.
Skype for Business, Link, I got nothing. Help me out.
Yeah, so I've got Windows 10 desktop on my kitchen computer where I do a lot of my interviews from. And so I have one Skype icon on the desktop, and I have one down in the bottom bar. God help me if I hit the one accidentally in the bottom bar, because that one just goes to nowhere. And I fundamentally don't understand what is the difference between the two Skypes that I have. I've been in computers for years, and I still can't figure out why one of them will work and the other one won't.
I want to actually put them both in an arena, Highlander style, and let one of them walk out, right? There can only be one. You guys figure it out.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll stop complaining about Skype. Some other interesting things, the credit card companies. I don't know if you've noticed this, guys. When you use your tap card, your to make purchases. Well, typically in the past, it was limited to $100 maximum tap purchase. Credit card companies, MasterCard, for example, now has raised that up to $250 you can tap.
which is super helpful. I was actually at the store today, and that's the thing is I do not want to pull my card out and put it into the machine. I don't even want to pull my wallet out right now. So I've got the tap on my phone with Apple Pay. My bill came to $100.97. And it was at this moment of like, I'm going to roll the dice and see if it worked. And it was great because it did. Hallelujah.
Well, this is a great experiment. I wonder when all of this dies down one day, will they go back to $100, or will they find that people could be trusted with $250 tap limits?
Fair.
Well, we'll find out. Also in the app news this week, if you've got a Roku stick or Roku TV or any of their Roku smart TV boxes, I have actually a few of the TVs in my house. Love it because I can access Netflix, Amazon Prime, Plex, all my favorite TV apps. Crave is now available on Roku streaming devices, which is a good thing right now because I think they still have 30 days free for that.
They do.
That's right.
And you can binge Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery in those 30 days. I joke, but I've actually been subscribed to Crave since it started. And I've also got the HBO add-on. So it's running me about $200 a year. It's a great little service. If you've got a Roku device, this is a great way to access it. If you don't have one, go get one.
Jumping back to Zoom, a lot of companies now and even governments are banning Zoom's use. I've just read recently the Canadian government, Taiwanese government, they've banned it for government conference calls. And, more and more big companies are banning it as well. We know Elon Musk, the man behind Tesla and SpaceX, he's banned it for all his employees because of security concerns. NASA has as well. And now Google has banned its employees from using Zoom because of security concerns. It makes me wonder, why aren't they using the Google products like Google Hangouts?
Well, it's interesting, too, because the British Columbia government just licensed Zoom for all their schools to do the remote learning, distance learning stuff. So
I think the big thing here with Zoom is that they've had greatness thrust upon them at this point. Talk about being the right product at the right place at the right time, right? Easy to use video conferencing, quality is good. The problem is at that point, when you go from 12 million users to, I think, upwards of 30 million in less than 2 weeks, yeah, you're going to find that some things have been done wrong. And so they put a 90-day freeze on features, and they're basically updating all of their security right now. Literally after my last Zoom call, I just had an update push, and it listed a lot of the things that people have a problem with. The big one was that when it creates meetings, it creates them without a password. So if you have that 9-digit ID, which it's not hard to guess, you can just have a machine run through them. People were able to Zoom bomb. They were able to jump into your meetings. It's a one-button fix for that, right? Secure your meeting, and it puts a password on it, and that goes into the link. So it's still the click the link to get in. But I mean, this is go fast, break things, but not even on Zoom's part. They again kind of had this put on them. So like, kudos to them for figuring out, yeah, security is serious. We got to take care of this. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that they've been pretty transparent, especially compared to some of the other companies out there about, we screwed up. We weren't ready. We weren't as secure as we thought. We're fixing it in real time. And their CEO has been on all kinds of live streams talking about this and, getting the word out that they're fixing it. And I think they want to live on beyond this pandemic and be the tool of choice for a lot of people. So it's in their best interest to fix these concerns.
Yeah. I mean, looking at all the other software out there, I've already given my money to Zoom. And again, compared to a certain piece of software who we will not name from the beginning of the show, I feel comfortable with Zoom right now.
It's interesting. One of the shareholders of Zoom has launched a class action suit against them because of the drop in the share price. And they attribute that in this lawsuit because of the lack of security in the software.
Gee, I wonder what that lawsuit's going to do to their share price.
Somebody didn't think too far ahead on that one, eh?
No.
I don't know. Okay, we still have a lot more to talk about on today's program. Later on in the hour, we'll be going through some video conferencing etiquette on how to not be a total idiot when you're video conferencing with your coworkers, family, and friends. We'll also be chatting with the folks behind an awesome app. It's the Canada COVID-19 app, a must-have for every Canadian right now. We'll tell you what it's all about and how to get it. And coming up next, Quibi, the latest streaming service. Is it right for you? You'll find out. You're listening to the App Show here on the Chorus Radio Network. Back after this. You're back with the App Show. Mike Egerbo here with John Beeler, Graham Williams. Let's talk Quibi. Quibi is the latest streaming service out there. So many of them really nowadays, but this one's a little bit different. They're going after the short attention span. All the videos available on Quibi are 10 minutes or less. Have you guys had a chance to check out any of the shows yet?
Yes, yes. We should point out the interesting, I guess, feature, if you want to call it that, is that it's only for your phone. You can't watch this on your Apple TV. You can't watch this on your smart TV at all. You can't even screenshot the app. It has this weird feature where you can watch it landscape, which would make sense to watch, like, a normal film. But if you turn it vertically, which is where people are on the bus and stuff, it's easier to hold. It does like this weird pan and scan thing where you actually can still watch the whole show, and it's doing the quick, clever editing back and forth between, say, two people talking, that type of thing.
I did find actually that the editing of that it feels really natural, and being able to sit down on the couch or like, chill out on a love seat is just holding your phone like you normally would, as opposed to having sort of that awkward sideways angle. I've got to say, I'm not usually a big fan of portrait video. But they've kind of done it right here.
I think that their system or their editing technique or the algorithm, whatever it's doing, that definitely is clever. But the problem with this and with any streaming service is there something there for you? And that was the problem that I had. I found it hard to find anything that I cared enough to watch, even to watch the first episode. I watched the Will Forte one with Caitlin Olsen. It's the makeover show comedy thing. It was okay.
Nothing about that sounds appealing to me, but okay.
No, but it was the only thing I could find in the list that actually remotely looked appealing. Because for me, most of the stuff, at least that it presented to me, and it doesn't ask you any questions about what kind of shows you like or anything like that to recommend anything. It looked like a bunch of reality TV shows that have been edited for this format, with a couple little sort of other shows that have a little bit more star power behind them.
So I've got two for you. The first one was called Light and Music, and so I've been DJing for the last year. I know a lot of really great musicians and electronic musicians, and so this is a show about that world. And the episodes are only 8 minutes long, but it's they talk to people who make music, people who play instruments, people who are the audio engineers in the background. I found this
somewhat more documentary style.
Yeah,
and that kind of content.
It felt very compelling for me to watch this, and I kind of plowed through the first two episodes, and they're releasing new episodes every day now, which I find is 8 minutes of bite-sized content on a topic that is relevant to me is good, which I thought was a lot of fun. But going in a different direction, like again into fiction, there's one called Most Dangerous Game, and it's about a guy who basically accepts an offer to be part of a hunt in order to help eliminate his debt, and then he realizes that he's the one being hunted. Cool, and we've seen a lot of
Liam Hemsworth.
That one,
yeah. I think it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some pretty big stars coming into this. Interestingly enough, they had over 300,000 downloads the very first day, which is
and a nice big outage.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they all seem to have that. Disney had that problem as well when they first launched. But so this isn't a free service. I believe you can get a 90-day free trial, but it basically.
But that's important, because if you do want to check it out, they have two business models. They have an ad included model for, I think, $6.99 Canadian a month, and then for ad free, it's $9.99 a month, and you can get a 90-day trial on either of them. So pick the ad free one if you're going to play with it for 90 days at least.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of ads, so I went directly to the ad free model. And honestly, like $10 a month Canadian, I'm going to have to check it out a little bit more. But if I am getting the kind of content that I'm getting out of it right now, we're probably spending 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day right now watching the content that they're producing regularly, that's worth it for me.
Yeah, if you can find something you like.
Yeah.
I wonder if this thing has legs long term. Like if they're going to be able to get enough subscribers that are going to pay like the $10 a month or even the $7 a month.
Well, it
Like
was interesting.
to me, this doesn't appeal at all.
No, and it's interesting because like Disney went from 22 to 50 million subscribers, in the last few weeks. Gee, I wonder why. But so that this is probably the best time and the worst time to launch a new streaming service, right? Especially one that is meant for your phone versus your TV, which you're stuck by for the most part for most people right now. So,
the curious thing about that though is, sure, if you're in a family, you're stuck beside the TV, but so is everybody else in the house. And say, for example, somebody else is watching something that you don't want to. Good time to go check out what's new on Quibi. Yeah, why not?
Okay, so Graham, you've said that you might actually subscribe to this.
Thumbs up from me.
John?
Well, I'm actually going to check out Graham's recommendations because this is the first time we've talked about it. We wanted to save it for the show. And they do sound interesting. I didn't see any immediate obvious documentary stuff, which is generally what I watch on Netflix and other things anyway. So, and the music stuff is interesting to me too. So I'll check that out. But yeah, I'm still skeptical. I mean, this was something we talked about a little while ago because this was all over CES. They were promoting the crap out of it. And it's got some huge, big firepower underneath it all, star power, I should say. And so Spielberg and other people are producing content for this platform. So clearly they think it might be worth spending that time, or they're just getting paid a truckload of money to do that. Who knows? But same thing with Apple TV Plus. I'm still not sold on it beyond the fact I get it free with my iPhone purchase. So
yeah, and that's about $7 a month, right?
I think
somewhere.
So,
yeah, and they haven't got huge amounts of content yet either. Okay, we still have a lot to talk about on today's program. Later on, video conferencing etiquette. Are you being a video Are you being a video idiot while you're on your Zoom call? Well, we'll tell you how to behave properly. Also, we'll be chatting with the folks at Canada COVID-19. This is a new app that every Canadian should have, whether you're an iPhone user or Android user. It gives you all the information you need about the virus and all the resources available. We'll be talking with the folks behind that and where you can get it and how to use it. You are back with the App Show. Mike Agerbo here in studio. Well, with the COVID-19 epidemic going on here, sometimes it's difficult to find all the right information, best practices on self-isolation, social distancing, to finding out the right links for help from the government. Well, there's an app for that. It's called Canada COVID-19. On the line, we've got our guest from Thrive Health. He is the CEO. His name is David Helliwell. Thanks for joining us today, David.
Thanks, Mike.
So tell us about your app. I love this because I've been trying to find all this information. I'm Googling everything online, and it's kind of all over the place. But you've amalgamated it all into one app that works on iPhones and Android phones.
That's right. And it's in collaboration with Health Canada. And it's actually flowing out of an app we started in BC with the BC Ministry of Health, and Health Canada wanted to offer it to all Canadians. So on the Canada COVID app, it's ever since it launched, it's been the number one app on both the number one medical app on both the Google and Apple app stores. And really, it's got two main purposes. One of them is to allow each person to assess their own symptoms, and to not just do that once, but see how the symptoms evolve over time. And it gives public health a way of seeing across the country how symptoms are evolving. So you can really get a sense of where we are in the evolution of the COVID-19 life cycle. So that's one thing, is the testing. And then the second thing is exactly what you were mentioning, is just giving people a single place to get the trusted information that they're looking for. And in the surveys that we've asked, so we've had about 7 million Canadians go through so far, both with the app and the website, and so many of them want to know what it is they should be doing. What's the right thing? A lot of them are also asking, what can I do to help other people? So it's really just giving them this point of, okay, here's the latest trusted information. Here are the things that you should be doing based on you and how old you are, what your symptoms are, and away you go.
We're talking with David Helliwell. He is with a company called Thrive Health, and they have developed a very popular app. It's, again, called Canada COVID-19. This is, I think, a must-have app right now that really gets all the information you need into one place. So this app actually gets information. How are you dealing with privacy concerns?
Right. So the app, as it stands, doesn't require personal information from users. So just by having the app, we can ping you with notes, and we can track your changes over time. But beyond having your postal code, we don't actually know who the people are. There is obviously potential down the road for opting in for having more personal health information and test results and that sort of stuff. But really, what we're doing now is just the de-identified information.
How did you get this app together so quickly? It has the pandemic hasn't been around for that long. Typically apps can take months and months to put together, even years, depending how sophisticated they are.
Well, absolutely. Well, a couple things. So one is Thrive Health. We're a Vancouver-based health software company, and we've been doing things like this for the last 3 or 4 years in BC and in Ontario. And really, our company is all about software that helps patients through specialist care journeys. So we've had tens of thousands of surgical patients where we do pre-surgical risk assessments and tell the patients what they should be doing. So a lot of the foundation was there already. We'd worked already with governments across and health authorities and health systems across the country. So a lot of the building blocks were there. But obviously, COVID is very new, and we're working very closely with the public health officers federally and provincially. So there's a lot of moving parts. And honestly, I mean, the team at Thrive Health has just been going day and night since late February, basically 7 days a week, and trying to find time to get outside to breathe some fresh air a little bit and get a little bit of sleep. But it's for sure we've been very much a part of the healthcare system, and we're by no means the only ones doing this. Obviously, the frontline healthcare workers are going a mile a minute. People within the system as well. The Ministry of Health and Health Authority workers are working around the clock. So we're just like all of those, really. It's a lot of work to keep up.
We're talking with David Helliwell. He's with Thrive Health. They're the folks behind a very popular app right now on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store called Canada COVID-19. Must-have app, especially in these times right now. And again, excellent resource for getting all the information you need to know about the virus and what kind of resources available for you to help. You guys are, besides this app, you're working with hospitals as well with an app.
That's right. And really, and the name Thrive Health, the idea is we wanted to make a way for patients to not get lost between the cracks when they're going through a healthcare journey, but also recognizing that it's more than just solving a physical problem, that it's really for people, the mental well-being is an important part of overall thriving. So we do have, for example, on the app, we have questions around rating your subjective well-being. So how happy are you with your life as a whole on a scale of 0 to 10? On the flip side, what sort of anxiety levels do you have? And linking that to an increasingly large body of research around the linkages between happiness and well-being and how resilient people are through healthcare journeys. And obviously with COVID, it's an extra big deal because with the isolation and uncertainty, it really adds another dimension to a lot of people's physical and mental health. And I mean, just to mention on that, the secret sauce for us on this is my father, John Helliwell, is the lead author of the World Happiness Report every year. So it's really plugged us into the latest research, and it's fun to work with your dad on these things, and just to bring in that whole element into the delivery of healthcare.
We've been talking with David Helliwell. He is the CEO of Thrive Health. You must download his app. It's the Canada COVID-19. It's available for iPhones and all the Android phones out there, again, at the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Everything you need to know about the virus, how to protect yourself, and any resources or help you need from the government, all the links and information are available there. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. Be well, and I hope we'll talk again sometime.
When we come back from the break, more apps to talk about here on The App Show. Back after this. You are back with The App Show. Mike, John, and Graham here. Let's talk video calling etiquette. This is something I think some people out there need to hear. Many of us are doing Zoom or Skype calls with work colleagues or having calls with friends and family. Well, we wanted to offer a few basic tips to make sure you're on the right side of polite when you're doing a video conference. And before the call even begins, guys, I think the biggest one for me is actually test your gear out before the call. Make sure that you have the microphone working and that the video camera is working properly.
I think one of the biggest things that I'm finding is that with people out there that have different sets of headphones installed, or if you've got the speakers on your laptop, plus you've also got another set of speakers there, you'll find that you've actually got them assigned to the wrong thing in that app. So you go to speak to somebody, and sure, the headset that you had plugged in that has the mute switch turned on is the one that the mic is going to. You're kind of screaming at your laptop, mute is off, and you kind of seem a little silly.
And I'm guilty of it because we're doing lots of interviews now, obviously from our homes, and I've got my home setup going here. I can't tell you how many calls we have with a guest, and I can't seem to get the microphone working properly. So I typically show up for the interview on the hour when I'm supposed to, but I haven't tested the gear ahead of time, and sometimes we're waiting like 5-10 minutes, which is not polite.
No, it's not, Mike.
Sorry, John.
I'm just going to step out of this one.
Our next tip is make sure you look okay on the call.
Yeah, this is something that you can easily do with the settings in any of these video conferencing apps. But there's even easier ways of doing this. If you're on a Mac, you have a couple options. There's an app called Hand Mirror. It literally puts a little icon in your little top menu there. You click it, it just automatically launches your camera. You can have a quick glance. You close it, and it's gone. And it even supports multiple cameras if you have a couple different webcams or something set up like I do. And so that's great for that. But your settings in Zoom or Skype or whatever you're using works just as well. Just to make sure that, there's not something inappropriate in the background. Like Mike's got mixed drinks about feelings in his signage in the back corner there. It's
all the global viewers love that.
Yes.
They think I'm an alcoholic now, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but just doing little things like that to make sure that your everything is in frame that you want it to be in frame. Nothing is showing that shouldn't be in frame. Your hair is good. You don't have crazy stuff stuck to your glasses like I do sometimes. Cat hair usually, but those kinds of things. Just a quick glance just before you join that conference call with 20 other people in it.
And Graham, lighting that has to be a huge thing. I mean, I look at so many of these calls and people look like, they might look good as far as their haircut and their faces, but the lighting makes them look,
Yeah, so this is a big one. It's actually really easy to solve. The big thing that I've noticed is a lot of folks will sit with their back to a window or to a light. What that does is it puts your entire face in shadows. So the key here is to turn towards to your main light source. During the day, if you've got natural light, if you've got a window, face that window. If you have a light available, face that light and be up to 45 degrees off of that. That will give you a good look. Now, the interesting thing, if you're watching the video podcast of this version of this, you'll notice that all three of us have light on our faces, even Mike, who's facing away from the window. And that is because we have separate lighting sources. So this is actually my Key Light Air that I've just purchased that will light you as well. And great lighting will make you easier to understand, easier to pay attention to. So put darkness behind you, put light ahead of you, and you will look good.
So let's talk about during the call now. We've got a few minutes left here, guys. For Zoom calls, especially, a lot of us are doing these calls while we are in our homes. And sometimes, I've been on calls where people are in their bedrooms or their kitchens, and it doesn't always look so tidy in the background. So if you want to be a little more professional, Zoom is a great example. They have virtual backgrounds. And John, you are probably the master of these.
Yeah, well, I spend far too much time finding the ultimate backgrounds for this, but you don't have to use Zoom because we're using Squadcast to record the video podcast right now, and we can't do that with the virtual backgrounds. So I've literally just hung up something I had in my garage from a project I worked on as a backdrop behind me, and you can easily do that even with just a bed sheet. Just if you don't have, the space to, hide everything behind you, just put up a sheet or something like that. And it doesn't need to be huge because think about the framing of your video call anyways, right? So you just have it pretty close to your chair, or go against the wall if you have that option. But like Graham said, make sure you're still looking at the light when you're doing that.
Graham, this next tip, and I always laugh at this one because you're the one that told me about it. On Zoom, you can actually unmute yourself because you always want to typically be muted. I find that more beneficial because you don't want people hearing kind of crazy weird noises from from your home or your car, wherever you're doing it from. If you're muted on Zoom, to unmute yourself while you're talking, you just hold the space bar down, kind of like a walkie-talkie when you're pushing the button in. You hold it in when you want to talk your bit, and then let go of the space bar, and it goes back to mute. And you told me about this, but you are always muting yourself on these calls, and you are never using that.
The problem is I'm actually not using the mute on Zoom anymore. I have a Jabra Evolve 40 headset that has a hardware mute switch. And so I use the hardware mute switch instead because it's easy to tap on, tap off. I just get a little carried away sometimes.
Is it? Is it? We can never hear you.
I will say this, if you are using this trick, you do have to have Zoom in focus to do that. So a quick keyboard combination to kind of get in the habit of is using either Command Tab or Alt Tab to make sure you're on Zoom, hit spacebar, say your piece, and then let go. That I find is actually kind of a good bit of muscle memory to get in the habit of.
If I can just say one more tip before we head to the break. If you are not going to make the Zoom or Skype call, or you're going to be late, tell the organizer. I can't tell you how many calls I've been on now, and we just keep waiting for minutes and minutes because someone should be here any moment now, only to find out that they didn't show up for the meeting whatsoever. So be polite. If you're not going to make it, if you're going to be late, tell the organizer or host. Okay, when we come back from the break, it's our favorite app of the week. We've got time for one more app pick of the week. John, I'm going to throw this over to you. Your favorite app of the week.
So I'm still on the Nintendo Switch side, so this may not apply to everybody, but there's a new game out right now called Good Job. So if you really miss being in the office, this is basically an office simulator where you get to do all kinds of little tasks. And it's like a puzzle game. You got to figure out what the task is, and then you have to do it. And it's set in a brightly colored office. And each level of this game, you'll be assigned a simple task, and you need to complete it as quickly as possible while causing as little damage to the office as possible, which is good words to live by, I think. There are plenty of items scattered throughout the office that you can move, throw, or smash as you complete your tasks. What's fun about the game is that it seems to reward you equally for speed and care. So if you'd like to throw caution to the wind and complete your task quickly while not being too concerned about destroying the office, you can do that too. That's how I do it at our office.
Great. So you just try not to wreck stuff. Is that what you're saying when you're at the office?
It depends. Depends how quickly you want it.
Is that why my stuff's always broken?
I think so.
Okay, I want to throw it to our prize. As always, we've got contests going for the show. You can enter to win at our website, getconnectedmedia.com. If you subscribe to our newsletter, the tab's right up at the top, you will be entered to win not only this contest, but all the contests this year. And we're giving away thousands of dollars in prizes. This month, we're giving away from Cobra, the Drive HD dual camera dash cam. So if you've always wanted to see what's going on while you're driving, this is kind of a cool thing. It has a camera for the front and one that installs on the back. And then we'll save all of that video for you to check out and when you're finished driving. Again, the Cobra Drive HD dual camera dash cam system. I want to thank all the folks that helped put the program together. Of course, John and Graham, and all the folks in the background as well. Stephen, Christina, Nigel, and Paul, and of course, AJ. We'll see you again next time.